try to arrange cannabis in society is that if you want to grow for yourself privately or for the largest possible amount that you could, we would encourage that, but would require you to be a membership of your local cannabis cooperative, which would be ward-based, because the smallest unit possible is actually a more socially effective in terms of cooperation and co-investment and stockfill and determining how cannabis is regulated in your area. So the cooperative become the regulators. They would then talk to government for taxation purposes and relate to global corporate networks, the existing corporations who have the distribution. But we would be given the rights to be the producers and the holders of the rights to the genome. And it would be not permitted for corporates to grow it. They will be the distributors of value-added products coming out of all of these cooperatives. So I'm trying to look at a win-win-win situation. Community, state, and corporation. We all need to rearrange. The state and the corporations have colluded to prosecute us and keep us away from the resource. So justice turns the matter around and makes us the owners of the resource and the producers of the resource, the value adders of the resource, and the state is there as a taxation overseeing body, and then the corporations that presently exist, like the BP station down the road or the Caltex, that's infrastructure that is now of benefit to all in terms of convenience in filling up your fuel, but they would buy the cannabis biomass from us to make their fuels that they then sell back to us, and they provide that service back to us, which is the dispense. Is that we all must reconsider how land is owned through the mortgage, bond, banking, land as a commodity paradigm, which we become enslaved to in terms of just getting a place to live.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to totally rethink the way we hold our land. Private ownership is one way. It allows lots of people with lots of money to own lots of land, but maybe land trusts in various areas. Land trusts decide, so it's held in perpetuity, and then people get the right to occupy, which would be to have your home. A fair deal would be, in terms of cannabis, is every family should have access to or be able to live on the property where a hectare of cannabis can be grown. We don't have hectare sized plots, but we have tiny backyard dwellers, and we have massive extensive farms. There must be a middle range where everybody gets a piece, and cannabis can be grown on that, and that cannabis is then enough to give a family full subsistence from all the products that are produced. A new economic freedom. Land reform is going to be a very important aspect of creating a cannabis economy that's based on fairness. At the moment, we're having read the other parties' manifestos. The ANC, the EFF and the DA have put theirs out. That's all as far as I'm aware. So I've been looking at all of them and studying it. It's a very interesting political science exercise, and I'm busy finding the topics that they've covered. I agree with a lot in all of the other parties' manifestos, especially when it means something to the people. But I think so I have to write very quickly our manifesto. I'm busy doing that, and it's not so much caucus as a result of large gatherings and policy conventions and things like that. It is essentially a vision that for my country, which has been shared with me by the tree. the cannabis tree and its potential in an economy. So I have an understanding of its applications. I want to share that as a business plan for South Africa, which everyone can participate in, and which promotes community around the tree rather than the interests of corporations who might create jobs. Are we going to create lots of jobs?
They promise.
The corporate jobs aren't guaranteed, but cannabis-based jobs are guaranteed. We're going to see a boost in tourism. We're going to see industrial manufacturing. Cannabis can be used in the printing of electronics as graphene. It can be used in carbon fiber technology and motor vehicle manufacturing, building materials. So all of those sectors could get a boost from the resources. Just as you envisioned a majority in asking your previous question, you have to envision a majority and vision for that and walk towards that. So we are busy sourcing candidates from around the country, particularly from the environmental rights sector, and willing persons who have a credibility in education, health, legal knowledge, all of the things that are needed, engineering that are needed to run a country. And so we have got a number of willing participants as MPs. It's not like this, we have the most expert people on the planet to run the country. We have people with knowledge in sectors, but our parliamentary quest is in the spirit of the Occupy movement that happened a couple of years ago when people occupied public space. Can't even remember what their mission was, but it was resistance against state limitations on the way you use public spaces. So we're doing an Occupy towards Parliament, Occupy agenda towards Parliament. And so we're aiming for the centre, which is the House of the Nation, where all that bickering and nonsense and stupidity occurs in the House of Assembly. It's a very English model with like the Lords shouting at each other, this bipartisan division.
So you don't want any of that?
We don't want that. We want to get in there enough to say to those other parties, okay, we're enough here, you're going to listen to us, but we want you to help us with cooperation. We hope we're going to try and assemble candidates list of 200 plus candidates, which is 50% of the seats. That's an administrative exercise on the side. The other challenge is our 200,000 Rand deposit. Another challenge is maybe another 200,000 Rand just to spend some money on a campaign. Okay, and that's tiny compared with the expenses that are done by the other parties. I was born in Port Elizabeth in 1964. And I attended my schooling and my university education in Port Elizabeth. I have a Bachelor of Building Arts, which is the first 3 years of architecture. I used to work in the architectural sector, but I found that the new governing body of the architectural sector really just was in it for the money. You had to fork out membership fees and ongoing professional development, and I didn't believe in that. I had to pay for ongoing professional development to listen to speakers. With Google, you can study architecture in any direction you wish, and it should just show in the services you provided. So ultimately I left the profession. In 2000, my dad had been murdered on his farm. I went to the convention. I came back, and then I left Cape Town to go back to the farms to try and argue with my mom that they should not be sold and they should become a nature reserve. And that never happened. And then I ended up in Montague with some livestock, and I tried farming, and it was a disaster. I ended up on the wrong farm with brakwater and salted soils, natrium, sodium in the soils. So nothing farmed very well there. I got rid of my livestock, and I still have rabbits which I farm for meat.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to cut that down and go more towards growing cannabis in my garden than farming rabbits
Yeah.
now. Okay, obviously. So, and then just in terms of employment, I'm a freelance background actor for the movie industry, and hoping to publish a book after the elections, 2 or 3 books, which have been on hold.